And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because you were just listening to our stuff. I know you were, and you came back for more. That was a brilliant decision because we have a lot more for you. Now, why do we have so much more for you? Because this is the podcast that is about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And you cracked the code. Our guest today is a podcaster. That's right. Folks, you're brilliant. I love the fact that you're here. This is the place where we raise each other up, and this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So let's get sailing, move forward, and get our guest in here today. He is a speaker, a podcaster, a high performance coach. He is, the host of the Light Beyond Limits podcast, which I've listened to and is awesome. You guys got to check it out. He just put out a short episode, actually, that I just heard a couple of minutes ago. And it's about moving your butt and getting things done that I think all of us need to hear. I think you guys got to go listen to this podcast. Please welcome to the podcast, Coach Willie Blake. Willie, how you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing so good. So good. Thank you for having me on this.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man, and I appreciate you coming on and dealing with all of our fun stuff beforehand. We had a few technical difficulties, and Willie was just a great sport through all of it. But hey, we're up and running now, right?
Yeah, we're here.
All
Let's do
right.
it.
All right. So we got a few things to get into, of course, in terms of, what Willie does, what he offers, and what he's an expert in. But Willie, do me a favor. Just tell everybody a little bit about you, what you do, what you're about, so they get an idea of who's here today, man.
Yeah. So I'm Coach Willie Blake. I'm a high performance coach for adult dyslexic professionals and entrepreneurs. I help them to accelerate their results and to achieve the dream and goal that they want with this thing called dyslexia. And I've had it my entire life, ever since the first grade, where I walked into a classroom and this table was laid out in front. Lady handed me a piece of paper and said, "Read this." And I looked at it, and it was like reading the New York Times without any pictures. As a first grader, I stumbled, and it was the hardest thing to get through. Finally, when I finished it, nothing happened until a year later, to where finally my parents were brought in and I was diagnosed with this thing called dyslexia,
Hmm.
which, for those who don't know what it is, simply put, we process information differently. And because of that, simply it's hard for us to read, write, speak, or spell. Any of those four areas also can go into math and things like that. But throughout my entire life, it was just this challenge, this obstacle to try to overcome until about halfway through college. And I'm skipping a lot of the stuff just to summarize this quick. About halfway through college, I'm like, what if it isn't as challenging as I thought? What if it what if there's actually a good side to it? So I started researching more and realized that although there's the hard stuff, there's also the great attributes like out of the box thinking and perspective, being more empathetic because we had to deal with so much during life, and a bunch of other things. To which then I decided I'm going to focus on that. And from there, went from who I was. I've read an average of maybe one book a year, struggled with speaking on stage, and to then going to someone who reads 60 plus books a year, is a podcaster, an award winning speaker, and just really wanting to show up for people, breaking it down so simple, the things that I did that can hopefully help other people.
That's amazing, man. I mean, that really is. I know that when I was younger, granted that was the Stone Ages, but when I was younger, they really didn't have any idea what that was. There wasn't any testing for it or looking out for it, because I remember, being, I don't know, almost in middle school before it was the type of thing where anybody was even talking about it or we even heard the word for the first time. Now you're younger than I am, but you're not exactly, a kid. When you were younger, did they know what they were looking for, or was it still that new that they really had no idea what they were looking at?
They had an idea about what they're looking for, because there's the signs of when you're reading something, you read what's it called, slower than the average grade that you're in. There's the reading things backwards. There's the you're looking at something and you just can't focus on it. So a lot of it, especially with the testing, was just focused on reading. And so anyone who was diagnosed with dyslexia, at least that I knew of at the time, it was just really hard time with reading. And so kind of they understood it, but at the same time, absolutely not as much as they do today.
Interesting. Okay. And so then, how did they treat it back then versus how you're helping people treat it now?
Back then, for me, there was a lot of tutoring. And so after school and during the summertime, once a week, I'd go to the random bunch of buildings together. I'd walk into a door, and then the tutor was there, spent an hour with them going through flashcards and words, getting a green piece of see-through paper, putting it on, trying different things to help me improve reading. Then in school, they did a few things to which the on Friday, the last hour, they took me and a couple other students who I am sure were also dyslexic, took us to a separate room, and we had a lot of fun. We played games. We were reading and we had competitions of like the different words that we can come up with, and we had a party. It was a great thing. Unfortunately, with the awesomeness of that and learning from it, there's the distance of people thinking that dyslexia was contagious like cooties, which is
Mm.
not. And friends being like, well, he's different, so I'm actually going to go hang out with someone else, to where there's things like bullying, depression, sadness, things that also came from it. um, so yeah, that's kind of what it was like.
Gotcha. Now, are those other things you just named, is that stuff you had to go through?
It was tough, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. No, I understand. Now, you went through school, you kind of fought through this whole thing, and you get to college and you start to say, hey, there's a better way to do this. What made that light go on to say, I think there's a better way to handle this?
Just weirdly enough, it was a statistic that I read. I have no clue where it was from, but it was a statistic that said 95% of CEOs read 50 or more books a year. And I thought it'd be really cool to be a CEO, really cool to be a business owner. So that's when it started to come. Because back through elementary and everything, there was the sadness and people walking away. There was an elementary school I felt by myself, and middle school, as middle schoolers are, sadly, you get bullied for being different. But then even in high school, when I had friends, I remember one time we just finished lunch, we stood up, and as we were walking down to our next class, my friends and I were having a great time. And then they walked into the classroom, all of them, and I didn't, because that was the honors English class to which all of them were able to participate. And I had to walk a few more doors down to the English class in which no one wanted to be there. None of the students were really wanting to engage. And I felt like this smart individual, which I knew that I was stuck with the dumb people. And so obviously my character was questioned, and I thought throughout all high school, am I actually dumb?
Hmm.
Do I fit this mold that all the rest of the students that are I was forced to be around? Do I fit this mold like everyone else? And
Wow.
so from all that and into college, I started to get the stuff that I liked. I was focusing on accounting at the time. And as I went through it, then that statistic came up. And so as I'm sitting there, read the statistic, I thought, how would it be if I read 12 books in a year? Ain't no way. Ain't no way we're reading 50. That is impossible, especially for a dyslexic at the time who read maybe an average of one book a year. Ain't no way that's happening. But 12 doesn't seem too hard. A book a month. And
Okay.
as I broke it down, the average self help book is 300 pages. So taking 300 pages, divide that by 30 days in a month is 10 pages a day.
Yeah.
So if I read 10 pages a day, I'll finish one book a month, 12 books in a year. I thought I can read 10 pages a day. Might take me an hour to read it, but I can read 10 pages a day. So I got a little note card and wrote 1 through 12 on it. Went to my bookshelf and grabbed the smallest self help book I could. It was Poor Dad. And then I started to read chapter one. And so from there, I then started to get this mindset from Rich Dad Poor Dad, from the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, from the Richest Man in Babylon, right? These are names that you hear of really great books.
Yeah.
Started to read, and this shift in my mind said, to then being like, it's possible, maybe, to then I'm doing something to it, so I think that I can, to then having the undeniable proof that I am who I say I want to be because I actually am doing it. And so reading those books, I hit that 12 mark, and not just hit that 12 mark, but went to that 12 to then 40 to then 50 and then now 60. That was the first time to where it's like maybe I could do something different. And just having that first massive giant leap done, then I was like, well, what if I overcome this speaking thing that I have? What if I start writing more and writing books? And then, everything else happened from there. But yeah, that is that one moment of this random statistic of 95% of CEOs read 50 more books a year. Changed my life from there.
I love your story, man. I really do. And this was you deciding that you were going to read books and just work at that really hard. I mean, is there something else to that, or was it literally just your will to do this through the whole thing?
It pretty much the will to do it. Like it was something I really wanted because I'd never done it before, and I wanted to be this thing called a CEO, this thing called a business owner, and I just did it. And it was slow for sure. The first thing was picking Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then through the rest of the process, I read, and then I was starting to get back because I reached the 12 books, and then the next goal was 40 books by the end of the year. But by the way I was reading, ain't no way I was doing that. So as I was telling people about this goal that I had, I started I asked this one friend as I was in a business class, and he said, "Dude, have you heard of Audible?" And I said, "No, what is that?" He's like, "All these books you're reading, it's in audio form, so you can listen to them." I said, "Cool." So he grabbed my phone and said, "Okay, I'm going to log you into my account. I want you to listen to a few books. If it's something that you like, get your own Audible account and start getting your own books." I said, "Sweet." So I started listening to it, and I could listen a lot faster than I could read. So I got my own account and started getting books. I started replacing my night routine of watching videos and playing video games to then reading the books. I turned my car into a library. I was not listening to music, but I was listening to audiobooks everywhere that I went. And from there, it accelerated it to where then I could read 40, 50, and now 60 books. And now to be able to read 60 books in a year, I still read 10 pages a night, at least, because that's just a habit I want to keep for myself. But most of the books I go through, it's an audio form. Over the years, I've been able to go from the 1.5 speed, and now I'm up to about 2.6 speed to listen through books.
Wow.
And that just helps me get through the books. Now, if it's a really good one that I want to take a lot of principles from, like books from Alex Hormozy or Tony Robbins and that, I'll slow it down to 2x because I can get more application and think more thoughts there. But for most books, I listen to it at that top speed. And that's like, it's just the training over time, wanting to overcome this thing that I didn't want in my life to begin with, called dyslexia, but then realize it's something I am going to embrace because I have it anyways. So why not use it? And from doing that, yeah, I was able to continue to read books and just through the willpower, start doing that and then continue to do it.
I love it. I mean, Audible's a great way to take that information in. That's really, really cool. All right.
Yeah.
So by doing this, these are all self-help books that you were working on back then.
Yeah, back then. Now I integrate fantasy because I also think fantasy has a lot of lessons to teach. So
Okay.
I'll listen to books like Fablehaven or Dragon Watch or Candy Shop War or Harry Potter. I'll add those books in there now, um, just because why not? They're
Yeah.
still books, even though they're not self-help books.
I love it. I love it. So you do this, you figure yourself out, you start working on this thing, you're self-improving. At what point in your life do you say, "Hey, I want to teach this to other people and I want to help other folks that are going through what I went through?"
That specifically was probably around 2020, 2021 is when I thought about that. It was when I felt the confident self I was back then, which, which is nothing to the confidence that I have right now, but like the confidence I had back then. I've always wanted to be a teacher. That's ever since I was a kid, there's two things I always wanted. I wanted to be an author and I've wanted to be a teacher. And so as a teacher, as I've grown up, I never wanted to do the traditional teaching route simply because there's so many rules and regulations that you have to follow. And I'm like, I don't think I can do that and help these individuals out the way that I think I can help them out with so many rules set. So finally, around 21, this thing called coaching came up in my world. And of course, coaching, there's like there's certifications that you can get and there's the experience in it. But I'd say 2020, 2021, this thing that I wanted since I was a child, which was teaching, can now come in this form called coaching. And so that's when it started off was this childhood dream now transformed into the thing that we call coaching.
Interesting. Interesting, man. All right, very cool. And where in the line of succession does the podcast come into all this?
Oh, I think I missed your question.
Oh, hey, sorry about
Can you
that.
say it one more time?
Yeah, for sure.
You're good.
Where in the line of succession does the podcast come into all of this?
Podcast comes February of last year. So
Okay.
2024. It was this idea that I had. I was laying in bed and I'm like, I want to help more people. Say that you have a big heart without sounding like you have an ego, but I know other people and what they want. Like whenever I go to different events, I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing their perspectives. I love it being different because then it grows my own perspective. Like I love just the individual to their heart and their soul. I don't care about what they did in the past. I love them so much. I just want to get to know them because we just have this beautiful world where so many people have so many different stories. So I just wanted to reach out to more people and this and dyslexia, which now I see as an advantage and a superpower. Not many people see that. And especially with the people that I help out these days, people who help out kids and teenagers, I love them to death. I'm so grateful for them. They helped me as a kid with dyslexia. It was just amazing. After you turn 18, you basically got jack squat when it comes to resources for dyslexics, people with ADHD or autism, like any neurodivergent type thing. You just don't have any resources for them. So I wanted to be a resource for these adults with dyslexia. Not only dyslexia, but but like autism and ADHD, people who go who have cancer, maybe spina bifida, people physical and mental challenges, whatever it is. I want individuals to break past these barriers that we call limitations and see the light on the other side. Because that's truly what it's about. It's about the light on the other side because it is there, but so many people are in the dark that all they need is someone to open the door, to look down at them as they're in a ball, maybe crying into their arms, and just have them finally look up and see somebody who has been there before, but then see them hold out their hand and say, I know where you have been. And there is so much on the other side. To have someone be there as that friend, resource, coach, doesn't matter what name you put to it, but just to hold out their hand, be a support, and lead them into this awesome light that we have in this world. I want that for so many people. And so I started with the YouTube channel called Dyslexic Achievers Hub, where it focuses on the achievement side to help dyslexics out. And then last February in 2024 is when this idea of podcasting came, of not just speaking to dyslexics, because I already have a channel for that, but speaking to a more general audience of individuals who have limits and how to break through them. Every time I bring up the intro of Light Beyond Limits, it's the breakthroughs and the stories that people have had with their limitations and the lessons they learned from it. It's about the breakthrough. And so I literally grabbed my phone, hit the record button, and just started to talk. And it wasn't called Light Beyond Limits to begin with. It was called Car Talk with Willie Blake, where I would the what's that thing called? The sun visor that's above your head that blocks the sunlight.
Yeah.
I would literally put my phone just hanging right there, hit record, talk into the windshield. And if you listen to the audio, if you go back and listen to some of the first episodes, audio is horrible. You can still hear me, but you can hear the wind, you can hear the turn signal, you can hear everything that happens in a car. But I'm glad I started because
Yeah.
then it evolved into then me hitting record where it was less noisy in the car to making it more about breaking past limitations, learning stories, to then interviewing people who have had their own challenges, not just dyslexia, but some people who have gone through cancer, some people who have dealt with thoughts of leaving this earth, some people who have gone through spina bifida or other medical type challenges. Just like really amazing stories of people who have suffered, but they chose to focus on the light rather than the darkness.
Hmm.
And so that's where it started. And I wanted to get it out there. I wanted to beat the statistic that most podcasts don't get past episode 8, and then even more podcasts don't get up past episode 20. So I'm like, I need to post at least 3 times a day, not 3 times a day, goodness, 3 times a week to then get to whatever destination I thought needed for me to feel like it was a habit. So I posted 3 times a week for months, almost a year, got past episode 100. And I'm finally just like, okay, I think we are good to at least slow down a little bit. So now I just do 2 episodes a week. And it's just great. It's great to share light. It's great to share these stories. I bring more and more people on who have amazing stories because all in all of us are going through challenges and all of us need a little help through it. So being that resource, that podcast, it's why I created it.
I love the story, man. I love the story.
Me too.
I love where you are with it too, man. That's really incredible. You know what else really is striking me right now? And because I had listened to a couple of your episodes, before, and then right before we got on, I wanted to fit one more in. So I listened to I think it was your most recent, and it was a shorter episode.
Yeah.
And it was you talking about just start. Like, just don't worry about if it's right. Just start. And the whole time you're sitting here telling me your origin story, it's like you 100% authentically take and give your own advice. And I mean, you practice what you preach. I love that about you. That's fantastic, man.
Oh, oh, I appreciate that because that's it. You just got to start. Nothing's going to happen if you don't start. One of the one of the big current things I'm working on is my health. So right now, I'm looking at myself in the camera and I am just in love with what I see because my face is more slimmer than it was. A year ago, I was at 295, almost 300 pounds. That was my max weight.
Okay.
And from there, I wanted to change. I had puffy cheeks, nothing, everything was full, and I didn't like the way that I looked. And I didn't go to like a doctor or anything, but I had this epiphany of I'm a father. I have three wonderful, beautiful girls, and another one that's on the way. No, I don't know. We don't know if it's a girl or not, girl or boy, but another kid.
Awesome.
When it gets to my girl's wedding, I want to be able to have one of those cool dances with her. Not the one where the father and daughter just dance and then the other ones dance and then we bring the couple together. But I want one to where we start dancing and then after like 5 or 10 seconds, then the music changes and it's more like a hip hop and you go into like a whole choreographed dance. That's what I want. That's absolutely what I want. And I knew that wasn't going to happen if I didn't change the things that I did. And so last year, I started to work on my health. I started some intermittent fasting. I cut down on some things, focused on more protein, dropped about 10 ish pounds, got to 285. And I was like, sweet, this is awesome. And then I got sick and the habit kicked me in the butt. And so for a month, then I stopped
Hmm.
and my weight started to go back up again. And I'm like, I can't have this. This I felt like I was in such this just such a groove with this. The habit was set, and then all of a sudden I get sick, and then literally everything broke. That's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I had this realization at that moment that it is never about being perfect. Because if you think about being perfect, you're never going to start. The perfect plan doesn't exist. And if it does, it's still in plan formation because people haven't taken action on it to realize that there's no perfect plan. It's about the imperfect actions that we do. We got to do things more messy in our business and in our life. We just got to start doing. And so I started 75 hard a couple months back.
Wow.
And for those who don't know what 75 hard is, it is a rigorous dietary workout type thing.
Yeah.
So I started that, got to day 53 on my first try. 11 o'clock at night, I was in the middle of a workout. And one of the things in there is you got to space the two workouts with 3 hours apart. And I just didn't plan right. And so I had this decision of do I keep on going? Do I just say that I did it? Because we're on day 53, past 2/3 of the whole thing. Do I say that I did it? Or do I keep my integrity and restart to day one? And I can look back and say I wish I would have uh made the decision faster, but I chose to keep my integrity and reset to day one, and
That's
then
cool.
went to day 17. And every year I volunteer at a teen diabetic camp as a camp counselor. And while I was there, the same thing happened of one of the things that you need to do wasn't getting done. And I decided that I'm just going to be here for the campers and I can restart once I get back. So I got back, I got really sick, actually ruptured an eardrum,
Oh,
and just like this whole mess happened. Finally, everything's in recovery. And now it's like I can start again. And I don't have to start on a perfect date. It doesn't have to be my anniversary. It doesn't have to, the 75th day doesn't have to land on my birthday. I just am going to start. I don't know if I'll reach 75 this time, but hey, why not start? And so now I'm on day either 6 or 7, because this was just last week when I started again. So I'm with I know I'd mentioned before Alex Ramosi. I'm
Hmm.
with Alex Ramosi when it comes to not talking about things you just don't know. I've read a lot of books, and of course, I can talk about things um, that I don't have experience about. But it is so much easier and so much more powerful to speak on things that I know, that I have done.
Yeah.
And so, as just who I am as a character of wanting to share light with the world, I choose to speak on things that I do. And one of the things I do that you listen to in one of the recent episode is people don't need you, like the 5-10 year person who you're going to influence doesn't need you to be perfect right now. They don't need you to have those big moments. They just simply need you in training. And so start now and just be in training. Fail fast, fail forward, make mistakes, but start going, because that's what's going to create the person that you want to be.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Congrats on keeping your dignity, man, because I know so many people who have cheated their way
Thanks.
through 75 hard.
And
I'm
I
telling
was
you.
almost one of those. Like I was almost one of those. And it's crazy that it's just a single decision that's the difference between if you're one of those people or not.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
is.
crazy. But one decision can it can make you too. Not
Yeah.
just break you, it can make you.
Wow. Now you've put together, I mean, I love everything you're saying. You put together an ebook to help people get past some of these barriers that you're talking about. You want to tell everybody about that?
Yes, I'd love to. So I created this ebook, and audio version will be coming out shortly because I know my dyslexic friends absolutely want to listen to it rather than read it. But created this ebook called Break Free, and it's the 12 chains of limitation and how to break them. And so through the different aspects of my life, I've found there have been 12 different chains that have held me back, that I have finally named, found activities, exercises, whatever word you want to use, activities to then, so that they're not limitations anymore.
Mm.
And if I may, there are a few of those.
Yeah,
One of them is the phrase "I don't know." How many of us, when asked the question, is just like, "Yeah, I don't know."
sure.
We do it a lot. But the thing about the phrase "I don't know" is that when we say "I don't know" or think "I don't know," our brain stops moving. It stops progressing forward to finding a solution.
Hmm.
And so a good example is if you are with your family trying to figure out what you want for dinner, wife asks you, "Hey, Willie, what do you want for dinner?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Then at that point, I probably don't know at that moment, but my wife knows that I have stopped contributing and stopped thinking about places to go eat simply by 3 words. And so it is one of the most unseen, I don't know if toxic is the right word, but unseen, dangerous words that we could use. And how to overcome that. If we say, "I don't know," add on a but. I don't know, but we're going to figure this out. I don't know, but here are some options that we can go with. I don't know, but maybe there's something else we can do or go for or a project to work on. Adding the word "but" in there then continues that line of process so that you're not just stuck in one place. And then instead of becoming someone who just creates a problem or doesn't help with a problem, then you become solution oriented. And you think, absolutely, I have no idea what the solution is, but let's go figure it out. Another one is the way that we think about ourselves. A lot of times we think that when other people are good at something that we are not, then it's amazing. They're doing fantastic things. But if we're good at something that other people aren't, we think of it as average. We're just like, oh yeah, everyone else can do it.
Right.
So when we think the thing of like what we think about ourselves, we need to think of ourselves just like if we would think of a good friend. And we need to talk to ourselves like we think of ourselves as a good friend. Because when we do, then that boosts our soul. It ignites that fire and passion within you. It gets you to a place to where chaos might be happening outside, but you're solid inside. And a lot of people that I respect as mentors and leaders, they're ones that have things figured out on the inside. They're still figuring things out. That's absolutely in there. But they have their core values and principles set in place. And then, Rory, if I may, one last one is what other people think about us. One of my favorite quotes is, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think that you think I am.
That's interesting. All right.
What that breaks down to, for if you're like me in the past when I first heard that and need a little explanation to it, is that we focus on certain attributes of ourselves when we're around certain people. So if you're at the office working, you might be more in professional mode and talk more sophisticated than if you're hanging out with your buddies and you're sitting on the couch and being funny and, shooting jokes around. Both, but we're focused on one area differently than the other. It's also like if you're talking with your coworkers and then your boss comes in, you might be changing some topics that you're talking about. Same thing of if you're talking behind someone's back with a group of friends and then they walk into the room. Do you stick with what you're talking about, or are you, because someone else came in as an outside source, change what you start talking about? And so this limitation of we are adjusting the way in which we present ourselves and adjusting the way that we talk simply based on the different people that come into our lives. That is dangerous. But if we get to a place in which we're able to, it's not going to be perfect, but to the most extent that we can, be the version of ourselves that we can be around the most people most often, that's where we're going to break this chain of limitation, so that we don't have to keep wearing these different masks on our faces whenever things happen, but simply we can start being ourselves more. And so it explains it a little bit more and probably better in the book than what I just said. But those are just three of the 12 limitations that have gone through my life, that I know several of my clients and people that I know have also gone through, that I'm sharing with everybody.
I love that. And that's just available on your website then?
Yep, that's available on my website. And you can also go to, it's coachwillieblake.com. That's the website. And you can go to / dash, whatever it is, break free. So if you put break free after it, it'll just send you directly to the page where you can grab it.
Nice. We'll make sure that those links are in the show notes too, so people can grab those up. I love hearing about everything you've done. I mean, you've got a several pronged approach at helping folks. You're leading with a servant's heart. I mean, you're doing everything you can to try and help anybody who has been through what you went through. It's very admirable, man. What you're doing, it really is. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it.
It means a lot.
I love the way you're using the podcast too. You I've heard several of your episodes. They're all very authentic. When you I know that you haven't been doing it. What is it? A year and a half at this point, give or take.
Yeah, year and a
Yeah.
half, give or take.
Okay. And you've passed all those initial milestones for sure. So you're definitely going to keep going with this and make it, which is awesome. The podcast sounds like it's encouraging. and like it's motivational in a lot of ways. I mean, it is educational in some ways too. Do you use it in a sales capacity for your business as well? I'm curious how the two things kind of coexist and how you utilize the podcast.
Yeah, I actually had this same discussion with a different podcast that I was on for someone else because right now I don't have the subscriber amount or whatnot to monetize from the podcast. And so I told this individual, I'm like, currently, no, I'm not making money from the podcast. And then he said, well, are you getting leads from it? And I sat and thought and I said, yeah, I am. Because one of the people that I interviewed, when they shared it onto their platform, one of their audience members reached out to me to connect with me. I was just like, hey, can I get on one of your free strategy calls? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Let's talk about what we can do and the game plan we can set. After we talked about that, they wanted to work with me. And so we started working together and they were a paying client. And so he made me think of, the only way I thought before was this thing called monetization that you see when you
Right.
pop on right next to analytics. But there's so much more into it. And so, yes, I am making money from the podcast, and it's from the people who I interview and the people who are listening are reaching out to me, and through the different things that I have, then becoming paying clients that way. So I never knew that was going to happen. It wasn't my intention for it to happen. I simply wanted to help other people. But it's kind of that crazy thing of if you help enough people, you're going to get to where you're going to go
Right.
without a doubt.
I love it, man. Even that was is awesome. You're delivering value and it's paying you back. So that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, in the interest of time, I want to go ahead and kind of get my corny question in here. When it comes to doing your podcast, what is it that you love the most about doing the podcast, and what is it that you just really and truly hate the most about doing the podcast?
Uh, we'll start with the worst. The thing of which is a lesser strength that I don't like to do the most with it is the editing of the interview part.
Yeah.
Because when I interview, I'm getting more towards the video aspect, and I'm able to do it uh, from start to finish. We hit record, and that's what we post, just a real raw discussion interview.
Yep.
There are times in which technology is fun and interesting to where it gets spliced up and you have to go in just to make it being able to be listened and watched, to where you have to do all that. The editing part is not my favorite to go through that.
That's fair.
The the best the best part with it is doing it messy. Like I said, I have found there's too many people out there and they can do what they're doing that are being professional and things look sleek and clean and everything. That's just too much time for me. I like to focus on one-on-ones. I like to focus on the individuals. So I get like the bare minimum stuff out, but I just like to do things messy. So that last episode I did, literally it was me walking my dog and I held the phone up to my mouth, and that's what the recording was. And I even said it in there. I said, "Hey, I'm walking my dog. There are cars on the street. It's going to happen. The noise is in there." But it's just so fun to do it that way. And I think people resonate with it. I know my audience does. My audience resonates with that. They don't need this clean, like you need this awesome hook at the beginning and music and then every set questions through it. I'm just like, for simplest of things, let me just record myself while walking my dog, and that's works. And then for interviews, we're just having a discussion. Just like that's why I love this podcast. Like it's a discussion. We just
Yeah.
talk about the flow of things that are going on. There's no cuts, there's no preloaded questions, except corny question, and I have my favorite question that I love doing at the end for my interviews as well. We just we just do things messy, and that's what I like the most. about my podcast is I get to do it messy.
That's nice. I love that. That's a great thing to love about the podcast. You're not alone in the editing. I mean, if you did top five answers on the board, editing is usually number one, followed closely by social media. So
Oh
yeah,
yes, yes, I'd agree.
definitely up there. Definitely up there. You're in good company. But I love that. Yeah, I do the same thing. Clearly, you know that. But I love that. So I think more people should spend more time on what they're putting into the podcast than how they're making it look or sound or shine, and make it look all pretty. Uh, Put more into your content and less into your your primp, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
and of
love that
course,
attitude.
like it's important to like have the SEO optimized. It's important to have
Oh, sure.
keywords and have like a catchy title. It's important to have like a thumbnail and things like that. All those are important. But if you break it down into like 20, the 20/80 rule, 20% is going to get 80% of the results, and 80% of what you do is going to get 20%. The nuts and bolts, that's the 80%. But if you can focus on that 20%, which is the content, which is the actual words being said, the heart being felt, the message being shared, people will resonate with that with imperfect 80% rather than perfect 80% and then that 20% just being trash. People won't listen to that.
Yeah, we try to avoid trash.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for
We
sure.
don't want trash. We want good, and everyone has good. It's just leveling up what matters most and multiplying what matters most than doing small addition stuff.
Yeah. All right, man. Toughest question of the day as we start to bring things to a close here and get ready to wrap up. You've been doing your podcast for a minute, and it's awesome. The As you've been doing your podcast, I'm sure you've overcome some obstacles. You've learned some things. What is the best piece of advice that you can give to podcasters who are out there who are not quite where you are yet?
Figure out what you are wanting to be. And it's interesting I put it that way. I have a principle that I teach, which is called your one word why, which is your why for doing everything smushed down into a single word. For me, that's light, which stands for love, inspiration, gratitude, hope, and the T is for time, because that's truly all that we have. When I started the podcast, I wanted to help people out who have been where I was at, and I wanted to help my younger self. And so, for those out there who are truly wanting to be where I'm at, be at where like the great podcasters are at, start with who you are, start with who you want to impact, and then start speaking to them. As you go through the practice, the reps you're going to put in, the nuts and bolts, those are all going to come. But truly start, I say it again and again, start messy with the things that matter most. And people will come your way and you'll grow your podcast.
Great way to wrap us up, man. Great way to wrap us up. Love that advice. Love it, love it, love it. And honestly, I love what you're doing. So, Coach Willie Blake, go get his free ebook. We're going to have the links in the show notes. Check out his podcast, host of Light Beyond Limits. Folks, you got to check this out. We want to support this guy for sure and help him on his journey, which I'm a huge fan, man. So I'm really glad I got to meet you. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing what you did, brother. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Folks, this has been another fantastic episode of the Podcaster Nation. The reason we have these fantastic people on here, these awesome podcasters talking about all this great stuff, is because this is the podcast that's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. This is the place, and I'm pretty sure we showed it again today, where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.